What's good, everybody? I'm your blessed and grateful host, Anthony Brinson, and welcome back to the What's on Your Mind podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode, and I really want to start off right off the bat because I've seen a lot of weirdness going on with just exactly how Black women are treated in the media, and whether it be with hip hop, with entertainment, it seems like Black women are always the main target of scrutiny. And let me talk about what I mean, because if you aren't familiar with an artist named Doechii, she's been a phenomenal artist, phenomenal rapper. Please check out all of her music. It seemed like the moment she got into the mainstream, and especially with things of like the attempted removal of DEI and things, it seemed like it was the catalyst for racism and colorism to just jump out, because Doechii's been someone who's been making music for a really long time, and now she's affiliated with TDE, Kendrick Lamar, and we unfortunately got to see, and we're seeing her being, as one of my mutuals on Twitter, SK, cited it as being someone who's suffering from her own success, because for the longest time she's been making music and she's actually already been in the mainstream and blown up on TikTok. If you guys aren't familiar with the song of What It Is, Ho, What's Up, that's Doechii. And people are trying to make it seem as though she's just now getting in the limelight. Some people have the nerve to call her industry plant. And unfortunately, one Ice Spice was someone, her and her fan base, it was leaked that she was talking to another dark-skinned woman at the time, and she was telling that other dark-skinned woman how Doechii was apparently the chosen dark-skin. And comments like that really blow my mind, because let me see if I can do anything about this glare with the sun coming. I have my light on, and hopefully that helps. Doechii has been someone who's been making music for a long time, like I said, and it was leaked that her and Ice Spice had some type of beef going on, and it was revealed that she had called Doechii the chosen dark skin. As I've stated, I talked with some women some Black women before I recorded this episode, because I really wanted to make sure, as a Black man, I made sure I spoke properly, and also wanted to see if other Black women had also noticed this, because I'm old enough to where I remember dark-skinned people getting called African booty scratchers. Like, I remember dark-skinned women. I remember being talked about because I was dating a dark-skinned woman before in like early high school, middle school. I remember those same women having to fight to even have a spot. So to consider her the chosen dark skin and to have Doechii under so much scrutiny is really disappointing, because as I stated in a video previously, this idea initially stemmed from, it was going to be a video about Sexy Red, and she will be still a huge part of this video. But it initially started off as, is Sexy Red the problem, or are we? And what does being ghetto really mean? And as I thought about how Sexy Red has been treated in the media and in the limelight, I realized that this is not only a common thing for women to experience, for Black women specifically to experience in the media, but specifically dark-skinned women, like I mentioned with Doechii, for some reason, racism, colorism, being deemed as even more villainous than her light-skinned counterparts. Because Ice Spice, and I'm actually a fan of Ice Spice music, Ice Spice of all people being someone to talk about Doechii blows my mind. From a musical perspective, I mean, the musical quality between Ice Spice and Doechii is like quite literally night and day. And Ice Spice also unfortunately suffers from the same scrutiny that Black women do in the media. I have in my notes, as I wrote down, that a lot of Black women are unfortunately forced to champion the role of a strong leader, but always deemed the damsel of distress when they need help or they're too masculine when they stand up for themselves. My exact words I wrote down, just I compare it to the oldest daughter trope, because it seems as though black women are put in positions to where they have to be the one to be the role model, be the one that knows everything, be the one to have the perfect standard, the perfect body, the perfect face, the perfect imagery, the perfect things they say. And yet when black women are put to the forefront and they don't do nothing wrong, they're still brought down as, oh, you trying to be a man, or oh, you trying to be the leader, or and all those things. And it really disappoints me, because when I think of the oldest daughter, I called it a trope, but just as someone who has an older sister, I noticed that the oldest daughter always is put in the position to damn near just be the second mom. And it's unfortunate when black women are torn down in the ways they are, because with the example I'm giving of the oldest daughter trope, it's not a choice we're given. It's not a choice they're given. As I spoke about in my previous video with just the concept of a culture vulture, and the fact that black people, and especially black women, didn't ask to be put in the positions they are. They didn't ask to be role models. Like, especially rappers, they haven't asked to be anyone's role model, especially any kid's role model. And when I see someone like a Doechii attempted to be torn down, it really first makes me question, where are the black creators that should be using their voice to make sure that this isn't happening. Doechii gets her flowers. Shout out someone like a Will Smith, who made sure when he was on Black Max's platform, his stream, he shouted out Doechii, because Doechii, her last project was phenomenal. She's a phenomenal artist. And before I transition over to talk about someone like a Sexy Red, when you have a Ice Spice who, God knows if she's chosen or has the right to portray herself in the limelight that she wants to, but she's someone who also been overly sexualized. There have been points on the internet, people say that her music is better on mute, and why does she talk about always shake her ass all the time, when you would have a male counterpart who would do those exact same things, talk about how many women they got, how much sex they having, and they wouldn't get the same scrutiny as a black woman would in this case. And Ice Spice and Nicki Minaj as well, before I even get into Sexy Red, they both, with Nicki on such a higher platform in a higher way, they're some of the main ones who've suffered from the exact same things I'm talking about, but have been also the main people throwing black women under the bus. You have an Ice Spice who's a light-skinned woman, traditionally pretty by white, but America's standards of lighter skin, thicker body, longer hair when she wears certain hairstyles. And one of the main problems of her and her fan base, considering someone like a Doechii, a chosen dark skin, is lighter skinned people automatically have a better positioning in the world than darker skinned people from a optic standpoint, because they don't look as black as a typical black person. And when someone like a Ice Spice uses her platform and her voice to tear down or gets exposed of tearing down a Doechii, it creates this unfortunate elitist and colorist sort of mindset, because it sort of portrays the same idea of, if you're lighter, or just because you're lighter skinned, you look better than the darker counterpart. And while I can continue calling it racism, colorism, colorist, etc., it takes away from the respect of women in the media and in the hip hop community, because, like I mentioned, Ice Spice is also someone who's been overly sexualized unfairly, in my opinion. But she is also someone who automatically gets pretty privilege. With her being someone who is lighter skinned, she is put in a position to where she may get certain opportunities or certain looks because of her looks, because of she's light skinned. And another black woman like Doechii should deserve and could get those same opportunities. But when you tear down another fellow black woman and another fellow black person, it results in the same type of thing as if someone who wasn't black were to speak on these things. They'd get deemed as, oh, she's only chosen because she's dark skinned, or she's the main one who, out of all the other dark skinned rappers, she's the chosen one. Doechii's the one that deserved to be chosen. She's the token or chosen dark skin. And when I bring up someone like a Nicki Minaj, it's very, very aggravating because, in my opinion, Nicki Minaj is the greatest woman rapper in hip hop history. She's very talented, very musically incredible, and I would be someone that would want to defend Nicki Minaj, especially from a hip hop standpoint. But she has been the main one who has constantly been in beef and bad situations with coincidentally younger black women in hip hop. She got into a situation with Megan Thee Stallion where she made fun of her being shot. I'll definitely talk about her being shot and talking about how she lost her mom. And it seems as though black women can't really win for losing in entertainment and in the hip hop community, because when they talk about the things and when they come to the forefront about their issues and their trauma, they get used in a way and manipulated in a way as if they're the reason that they're going through the things they're going through. Like, it's Megan's fault she got fucking shot, or it's Megan's fault that she lost her grandmother and mother in the same year, or it's Megan's fault that I don't know. And it sucks because Nicki Minaj is one of the first people to suffer from this main issue of over-sexualization and misrepresentation and misunderstandings of women in the black community and in hip-hop and in media, because she's on interviews and early interviews cited talking about how someone like Lil Wayne, when Nicki Minaj first getting in and first getting on in the hip-hop world, people like Lil Wayne encouraged her to look a certain way and made her seem and made her think that one of the main ways to get on in the hip hop community and the entertainment industry is to show your body, is to be over sexual. And it sucks because it seems as though, to my opinion, black women are some of the only or main ones that get this sort of bad limelight in entertainment. As I mentioned previously with someone like Tyler Perry, you'd have a black man who would have the power to tell the black story in any way possible, and yet he focuses on the bad. He focuses on black women being the problem, and in some ways even being the fault of their own problem. And when you have someone like a Nicki Minaj, who is a very prominent, very important, very talented, very big figure in the black community for black women, talking about how Megan Thee Stallion, I think she's had beef with Megan, Lotto, Coi Leray, I think, and she's been someone to sort of deflect the things that she suffered from. And when I think about the overarching problem, it seems as though that there's a misunderstanding as to how the black community and certain black people can get to where they are, especially in the music industry. Sexyy Red is someone who has blown up over the past couple of years with making some would consider raunchy, very out there music. And as if you know me in my personal life, I'm a big Sexyy Red fan, hence why I'm making this video. And it really, how people view her, especially other black people, really opens my eyes to their understanding of how sort of geographical and sort of community-like things that have led to black people in certain positions, and then why someone like a Sexyy Red is who she is. Before I continue on, I'd want to make sure, and it's very obvious, if you can't tell, my journalistic ways come out, because I never want to speak out of line. Shout out someone, one second, real quick, just making sure I get all my words together properly. I'd want to give a quick shout out to Dr. Gentry. Dr. Gentry is my urban education teacher at Michigan State University, and we've gone over things such as redlining. Redlining is defined as someone who to refuse a loan or insurance to someone because they live in an area deemed to be a poor financial risk. And wanted to make sure I give a online professional definition first. To my understanding, redlining was the act of denying people in poor communities housing and anything that could get to a house, a loan or insurance or any of these things, just because they came from a poorer background. And in this class, we've also talked about gentrification, the idea of taking over a poor neighborhood and filling it in with things that didn't really stem from that area and that culture and filling it in with something else. Again, just like I did with redlining, because as someone who also uses Twitter, the reason I'm doing this and would keep stuff like this in the video is because people on certain platforms will try to make it seem as though these things aren't true, these things don't happen. So before, just like I gave my paraphrased example, gentrification is defined by Oxford Languages as the process whereby the character of a poor urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing, and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. And when you do your research on something like these things, you start to think about like, I wonder what areas could have gone through these things. And Sexy Red is someone from St. Louis, an area that's definitely gone through, when you do your research, things such as redlining. And when I look at Sexy Red as a person, I realize just how unfairly she's been represented and treated in the Black community, even within the Black community, and being a prominent figure in the Black community. Someone I'm also a fan of, even though I'm a bit disappointed with how this interview was handled. Lil Yachty previously had Sexy Red on his platform before. And trigger warning as I continue with this conversation, she had expressed a moment where she talked about how she was sexually assaulted before. And there was a instant moment of awkwardness to where there was like a nervous laugh from, I think, Yachty's co-host. And while I don't blame Lil Yachty and his co-host for not knowing how to talk about that situation, at bare minimum, I feel it could have either been edited out or handled better, because to laugh right after someone just expressed that they were sexually assaulted and then to just pivot, it really shows that these type of conversations, for some reason, are too uncomfortable to have. And I could be aware of the reason with these things being very harsh topics, but Sexy Red is someone who is openly talked about on that platform how she was sexually assaulted. She's openly talked about how there are moments where she would have to leave her kid with her mom while she's on tour, and it would hurt to have that separation from her kid, but she's working to provide her kid a platform and a life that she didn't have growing up in St. Louis. And it really bothers me when people on Twitter, I would see people call Sexy Red ghetto or explain Daquan Wiltshire, big fan of him, even though the way certain things he said just be out of pocket sometimes. I ain't gonna lie. He tweeted that, for reference, Sexy Red and a group of others were on stream with Playboy Max, and they were creating a song. And genuinely, when I saw this clip initially, I just scrolled past it and be like, okay, Playboy Max, he's been doing his thing. Shout out him as well. He's been really putting the underground and the Black community on a big platform, and I'm really grateful for that, whether it be from a Will Smith, Sexy Red. He was curating a project with them, and I genuinely just saw it as them being fun. And I think Daquan said something along the lines of like, I see why people are racist towards Black people, or like I would be racist towards Black people too. And while I can write it off as just a dark joke, people take those things and run with it. And the sort of demeanor and light that Sexy Red has been painted in, she has also had some play into it as well, where I think she would be on an interview with Summer Walker talking about how she would just go watch the video for yourself. They were talking about just their previous relationships and certain things they done. And like, I think they said, Sexy Red obviously has songs saying like "fuck my baby dad" and all these things. And Summer Walker is also going through the things she going through. And whether it be just me being a fan of Sexy Red or just the outlook I have on black women, that clip with that interview with her and Summer Walker doesn't make me think badly on them as black women, but they are also just people. Like, for someone to comment that it was ghetto or crazy for Black Max to be in a room with a lot of black people making a rap song, for that to be deemed as a problem, again, I can write off someone like Daquan's joke as just a comment as just a joke, but when you go to the comments of a certain post like that, when you go on Twitter and talk about these things, you're automatically met with racism, and you're automatically met with people who don't seem to understand the detriment of constantly portraying Sexy Red as the bad black person, as the ghetto black person. And when you look at things such as redlining, gentrification, someone as Sexy Red, who she's also grown up, I think she's stated that she grew up without a father in the household. She's now currently having to go on on tour and have separation from her kid. These just, to me, sound like things that black people unfortunately have to constantly go through. And when someone like a Sexy Red or a Megan Thee Stallion is authentically themselves, and they make sure that they make the music that they choose to and represent themselves in the ways they do, it's really bothersome when they're deemed as ghetto or ratchet instead of just people and black women who are doing something that they choose to. Again, you would have a black male artist who would talk about very similar things, but wouldn't be deemed just as bad, or they wouldn't be deemed as bad as a black woman would. And it really disappoints me. And it really just shows just how far aesthetic can really go. Because in my notes, I had talked about how SZA and Sexy Red are two people that are very similar to me with the things they talk about, with going through breakups, having sex with people, even if they feel they aren't the best for them. And yet SZA, from my lens, is looked at way more positively than a Sexy Red, even though they sort of make the same music, they do the same things. And it sort of opens my eyes to the sort of perfect lens that a black person has to be held under, because even though while SZA wouldn't be deemed as such ghetto or ratchet, she is someone who is overly sexualized as well, someone who has gotten work on her body, and she would be someone who would express that, at least to my understanding, she would do those things for herself, for SZA. And I'm someone who'd also believe in, like, just because somebody get work done on their body, and just because a black woman gets work on their body, that doesn't initially mean that they're doing it for the male gaze or for someone else. Some people do. Some people are honest for it. SZA, I also would view as someone who's a very beautiful woman and someone who knows that she's a beautiful woman. But even when you do research on just the things she talk about, she's someone who's also had to gone through the same scrutiny of not being good enough, not looking good enough. And it seems as though the women of my community are always, as I mentioned, they have to be perfect. They have to be this perfect symbol of righteousness, purity, or else they're deemed as less than. And it really just shows me that no matter what black women can do in the media, not only will they be deemed less than in comparison, sometimes even the women of our own community would tear down other women of our community if they don't look like them. As I mentioned, someone like a Nicki Minaj or Ice Spice and Doechii, and I could keep going with the Glorillaz, they all should be, in my opinion, respected the same way and viewed the same way as just artists making art. But it seems as though in the black community, we're put under this limelight that if we're not perfect, then we don't belong. If we don't emulate whatever standard is set of purity or beauty, then we're not equal to the counterparts. And as someone who can express that they're a big fan of Sexy Red, big fan of women rap music, big fan of black women, it really just shows the lack of empathy and understanding that black women get, especially in hip hop and in the media. Whereas, as I mentioned to Tyler Perry earlier, he would be someone who portrays black women in this certain light. And then all of a sudden, that's how all black women act. All black women are too aggressive, too masculine, too this. They're too much of something instead of being deemed as enough. And all the criticisms that a Doechii, Megan, etc. can get, it always stems with them. They're the problem. Doechii's the chosen dark skin. It's Megan's fault she got shot. And it's Nicki, you should look like this so you can be looked at better in the rap community. It's very disappointing. Very disappointing. And as I have this discussion, I'd want to know in the comments, or anyone who would want to reply, how do you view black women in the media? How do you view black women in hip hop and music? And do you feel there's a difference in how men are viewed in hip hop and viewed in entertainment? Whereas we have the content we talk about of a Tyler Perry where he portrays black women in a certain way, but Tyler Perry isn't really someone who's been criticized on a wide scale. And it really just confuses me as to how black women and black men can do the same thing. And both of us are thrown under the bus, but black women, and God forbid if they're dark skinned, they're deemed as the worst bottom of the barrel thing. And they need to go above and beyond and to infinity and beyond just to be deemed equal. With all that being said, once again, I'm really grateful for you guys to continue watching my videos, continue supporting my videos, because as I've stated in some of these earlier videos a few times, I want to be someone for the black community that uses my voice to put black people on a pedestal, because I feel as though when dark-skinned women, when black people are finally getting their moment, it's instantly taken away. It's taken away and portrayed as something bad, or portrayed as something that we don't need to be consuming, or especially when you go back as far as when a black person get on, Illuminati. Like, it just gotta be Illuminati. Jay-Z and Beyonce still get that criticism. Like, they gotta be controlling the world. And yet when black people get the success, for some reason it has to be something underlined, or it has to be something that a piece was moved, or something unfair had to happen, instead of just acknowledging black excellence. I want to be someone and a creator who expresses that black excellence does exist and that we should thrive in it. And no matter how we look, no matter the content we may make, it is okay to talk about black issues, and it is okay to represent yourself in any way you see fit, because whether you are a dark-skinned woman or not, whether you're a rapper or not, you can literally think of the song. I mean, it's a man's world, but it would literally be nothing without a woman or a girl. As a religious person, I definitely view that as just a factual statement, with the idea and literal concept that women bring life to this world. And black women are already held at such a high standard of needing to be perfect, or they need to be soft, or they need to be submissive. And it just really shows me that, like I said earlier, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I just want to make sure that this discussion is had, because as I've stated, unfortunately, I don't see a lot of people really being prominent figures in the podcasting community for black people, where it's actually very positive. It's usually something that's deemed as drama or something problematic. And whether it be in hip hop or not, I definitely want to be someone that puts all to that. So with all that being said, once again, I am so grateful for you guys tuning into this video. And whenever you get a chance, tell me what's on your mind. Thank you.